Hi friends, welcome back. Today we have one more interesting tutorial. Basically, we are going to see how a front-end application can receive data from a NLU web service, basically AI web service that can take an input text and then do natural language analysis on it and do sentiment analysis on it and return the various sentiments associated and the associated probabilities. So I was earlier using IBM Watson Studio where I had a NLU service on that, and I used to like pass a piece of review or a customer review to it, and then it would return back the various sentiments associated with it. It would do the sentiment analysis on their backend and return the sentiment probabilities for a different type of sentiments. So instead of IBM Watson, we want to do our own AI web service, our own model. We want to deploy on a Python web service on some cloud platform, and then how do we uh, uh, present it to the front end. So I have a node application. You can assume that this is a front end application. So if we go into the services, and if we go to home service.txt, so you can see that earlier I was using the IBM Watson Studio for natural language classification. Instead of that, I would use our own Python AI web service, natural language classifier that would do sentiment analysis and return the different probabilities. So once it gets the text, this particular node application, um, so this particular node application, I don't have the latest on Git. I'll commit it, but it would return something like this. So what is the different sentiments? Negative, somewhat negative, neutral, somewhat positive, positive, and the percentages on it. So right now I have hard coded it. The assumption is these values will come from our Python web service. So let's go ahead and try to see how we can do NLU sentiment analysis. I already have a Kaggle project where I'm using the Kaggle's movie review sentiment analysis dataset. So we would be using LSTM sequential model and would be training the model uh, using the glove set of words. So we import the necessary libraries, we import NLTK stop words, we do basic preparation on the data, like we remove the stop words and turn everything into lowercase, and all the punctuations we replace them with empty not empty space, but we just replace them with empty data, and that is that is what this particular method is doing. Then we extract the data which we have already put in our Kaggle project, movie review sentiment analysis data. Basically it has the phrase IDs, and then the actual review phrase and the type of sentiment. As you saw earlier, the sentiment 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are basically somewhat negative, neutral, somewhat positive, and positive. So we are gonna load both the training and testing data sets, and then we are going to clean them with the earlier mentioned method, and the clean text is appended as a new column in both the training and test data sets, training data sets, and then we will apply a tokenizer on it, and basically the number of words and the filter that we need to remove, and lowercase, and we do both, we apply the tokenizer to both the xtrain and xtest. and then we pad the sequences with a minimum size of 5. We read the glow file, glow embeddings file. This is more like a bag of words. We import it, and then we the number of words we set up a we use 128 words from each phrase, and we set up the weights for each of those words in, and we match it up onto our review data that we have, and we assign weights to them using the glow dataset. So now we create an embedded matrix with that mapping with the weights and weights from the glow dataset to the actual review words, and then we create a sequential model. Um, we put the embed the weights from the glow embedding matrix. We instantiate a LSTM model. Um, we mentioned the dropout parameters and the kernel initializer, and we added dense layer and activation of softmax because we want to know the category, and we use the Adam optimizer with a learning rate of 0.1. All this data can be tweaked further. For the purpose of this tutorial, we are just using a plain simple LSTM embedding, and this is the model summary. We have a embedding and the LSTM layer and a dense layer, and then we are going to put dummies in the sentiment values, and then we mention the early stopping checkpoints and the checkpoints, and we fit the model on the training data. So we have a batch size of 8 and epochs. We are running 20 epochs. You could run more epochs, shuffling the data. So as you can see that we have a score. We have a score of 0.00660, which is nothing but 60% score, and then we save the model. The idea is once this model is saved, we could use it in a Python web service which is deployed on a web server, and this model could be used to receive the reviews, movie reviews or reviews of a company service, and then they would do sentiment analysis and display it for the customer support executive. So he could see it, and it's visually very pleasing, very good experience for the customer representatives to see, oh, this it's easy for him to identify what kind of sentiment this particular review carries. So we, as you can see, we are predicting the data, test data, and we can see the outcome of the test data here in an array. So, and we also see that the probabilities are displayed of different categories for each particular test data. So for example, for the second I test review, we are getting the probability as um, different probabilities. The highest one is the third one. Let's see what is that. The third one is somewhat neutral. The third one is neutral. So what I have done is I have just taken these probabilities, and I have hard coded this here, but if we have more time, we can put it in a web service, and this particular observable on the node TypeScript node service front end can call the web service instead of our IBM Watson web service, and it can retrieve this data and display it as a for the agent as a word cloud. So now let's go ahead and see. I'm going to run this TypeScript model using npm start, and this will create a front end for me, front end node application. As you can see, it has spun up our node application at this particular port. This is a sample review, but we are not actually integrating with the backend. This is just a depiction of how it can be used by the agent. Like once he has a set of reviews and once he clicks analyze, the review data would be sent to the backend, and the agent would see once the page is presented next to each review, he could see what is the sentiment analysis. So here you could clearly see, oh, this is neutral, and this is the next one is somewhat positive, and next one is somewhat negative, and the least one is negative. So it's not totally negative, it's a neutral in its sentiment. So this is a very interesting thing, like from, but it look from a agent perspective, or a like from the person who is handling the feedbacks, or from a higher management, one, it's very visual. Once they look at it, they know, oh, this is neutral or this is somewhat positive. So this is a very real-time application of what we have done. So that's what we have for today. Thank you, friends. Hope you would subscribe to all my videos, and thanks for your support.